Welcome to The Art of Growth. I'm Joel Hubbard.
And I'm Jim Zartman, and we have been going through the book, the Hunters, Farmers, and Teamers book. And at the beginning, a lot of these episodes were very directly about the instincts, your instinctual stack. But we've been moving towards the last few episodes, the coaching aspect of how this actually shows up in your life, the really practical look at who you are and how you are showing up. And in the last episode, we were talking about leadership, but self-leadership, and a very wide range when it comes to self-awareness. And the reason we do all of this work is to get to this end point, which is to understand deeply the contribution you are here to make and be able to execute on your contribution with the quality of energy you want to bring to it, having the type of impact that you want to have. Because we are here on purpose. And every single person has a unique contribution to bring. And you will never make the kind of contribution that you are here to bring if you're trying to be like someone else. And so much of our work around the Enneagram, around the instincts, is for the express purpose that you own your own voice and story, that you have the awareness so that you can make the contribution that you're here to make. Because this is the whisper of a dream that's within you that says, this is what meaning and purpose and significance looks like for me, which is the series that we're kind of in the big picture, which is this around purpose and meaningful work, that you have something to offer, that you know you have something to offer. And I was thinking about this today. I think I even left this on the polo I sent you, but several years ago, I was playing this music service, and there was this woman there named Marty, and she was this big personality. We've lost her since, but if you want to see who this person is, you can go to YouTube and look up Cincinnati State, I Hope You Dance. And it's this woman, Marty, singing I Hope You Dance. And it's just beautiful. So we're at this service, and she does this solo, and it like blows the roof off. Like, people are crying. They're so moved. There's like standing ovation. They're cheering. And the guy who's speaking that day is this really interesting, quirky little character, Joe Boyd. But he's like this great storyteller. And he just got up and kind of looked at everyone and tilted his head sideways. He's like, I want you all to understand something. You are as good at something as Marty is at that. And he just shifted it back to the individual, saying, you have a contribution to make. Like, you have a unique light to shine in this world. Have you considered what that is? Do you own it? Do you value it in yourself? Do you see it as not less than what someone else has to offer, but do you truly own that you have something beautiful to bring to this world?
Yeah. There's plenty of people who do not believe that it is worth putting anything good out into the world because they have lost all sense of hope. And so maybe in a place of feeling like everything is totally meaningless and pointless. And some people have bought into that and live according to that. And I think, certainly we can lose our metaphysical understanding or previous belief about how things are. You might have believed that God had constructed this world in a certain way and God is a certain type of God. Or, maybe if you grew up without spirituality or religion, maybe you had a particular view around values and the way things should work. But whatever it is, at some point, you do experience something pretty painful, pretty hard on you that causes you to lose your understanding of how things work in the world. So you can become hopeless or, end up in a place of meaninglessness. What we all are starting to wake up to, or many of us are waking up to, is that this is not a way to live. Because even if you don't believe what you once believed in the sense of spirituality or religion,
just how the world works,
whatever it is, the injustices that are in the world, particularly if you've seen the underbelly of an institution, for example, that claims to be doing something good for people, and then you find out that behind the scenes there's all kinds of corruption. it can lead you down a path of disillusionment and cynicism.
Yeah, relational hurt nearby can be one of the biggest impactors of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so I'm aware of that, and I'm tender to that. I think people that are there, I just want to extend grace and support to those people. And then there are others who have just become even dogmatic about it, and it's almost a religion to them. It's like, no, there is no meaning, there is no purpose, there is no greater, and so we shouldn't, act like there is. But if you act like there is, the world is a better place, meaning there's less suffering. Well, it's all for nothing. Well, try telling that to people who are suffering. They actually would like less suffering, right? And you suffer when you live in that place. But if you act like there's purpose and meaning in life, and you act like there's something worth sacrificing, the immediate pleasures for, because you're aiming your direction, your life towards something greater, the tendency is those people do better. They experience more happiness, and they also are influencing other people in positive ways, and there's less suffering. And that's the thing that I think I want to address at the very beginning around shining your light in the world. I think that's an important piece to address. And I don't know that I want to spend a whole lot of time on that, because I think that by far the majority of people who are listening to us anyways are probably folks who do actually believe there's something good to put out into the world and want to. Mm-hmm. There are resistances to doing that. It sounds beautiful when we hear, hey, you have purpose. Hey, there's a light that you have to shine. Hey, you know what? Just as the singer performed so amazingly, you also have an area in which you are equally gifted or talented. And maybe you haven't developed it. Maybe that's very undeveloped at this point. But there are resistances, lots of resistances. As nice as that sounds, the truth is it is far harder to do that than it is to not shine your light. Not shining your light is the easiest thing to do. To believe that you have something to contribute and then to act on that, boy, that's a big one. And I'd like to maybe name some of those resistances that we have to doing that. One that comes to mind is fear. People are afraid of the unknown. Like, well, what will this lead to? What are the risks? What are the potential problems? So maybe my current living in the Shire, to pull a Tolkien one, is like a whole lot more comfortable and safe than to go out on that path where there's all kinds of potential threats.
Very sensible and do not have any adventures.
Yes,
Shire,
yes,
right?
that's an excellent quote. Yes,
right.
100%. Yeah, I love that one. So I think fear is a big one for a lot of people. The unknown, the discomfort of change.
Oh, I can say some of these for sure. Will it be worth it?
Will it be worth it? Yeah.
That's a huge one that stops a lot of people. Like, why should I try it? Will it be worth it? Will it be worth the payoff? Which is why I think a lot of times we judge the payoff instead of the joy is actually in becoming the kind of person who pursues it.
The very, it's cliche, but the very process of, of engaging in it.
Well, that's the Jimmy Carr quote. He says, the payoff of going to the gym every day is not the six pack. It's you're proud of the person who would become the kind of person who would go to the gym every day. Yeah. Like it is that kind of process. But that resistance of like, will it be worth it? Will they like it? I've been an artist my whole life, and I've always been completely confused by the things that I do that a lot of people respond to and the things that I really was in love with and nobody responded to. Yeah. And I really believe that everyone in the world, not that everyone is an artist, but everyone is a maker.
Yeah, very much a creator. I think absolutely.
Everyone is a maker of something. You have to be a maker. Yes. And I think every maker deals with the voice of, will anyone care?
Absolutely.
This is why, I don't know if philosophically if I agree with the line or not, but the Lumineers line, I think it resembles that of the maker when he says the opposite of love is indifference. Mm-hmm. Will everyone be indifferent to this thing? Mm-hmm. And those are real resistances, all those. Yeah. The fear, will it be worth it? Will anyone care?
And then also, even having value for yourself enough to do it. Like, do I matter enough to actually engage in this? It's not something I relate to, but I've heard from...
Oh, I do.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I get it. You said it. I'm like, oh yeah, that one's. I think a lot of people relate to that one strongly.
What helps you get past that, or what helps others get past that?
I'll let you know when I get there.
Yeah, exactly.
Like at this point, I'll tell you exactly, actually. I'm most free when I just go, I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to even think about the outcome. I was inspired again this past weekend. I went to Walden Pond for the first time. I'd never been there since we moved there. And I got to see the original house of Henry David Thoreau. Well, hit the original location, and then they built a replica of it, like to show how he lived for 2 years in the woods in this like makeshift cabin. And he said he wanted to go and just live intentionally, and he wanted to be a writer. And now everyone thinks of him as this incredible writer, like hugely influential. I mean, we drove through this one neighborhood, and it was Henry David Thoreau's, Ralph Waldo Emerson's, Louis May Alcott. The most recent Little Women was like one of my favorite movies the last several years. Like all of them are like right here. But he didn't actually get recognized for his writing during that time.
No.
But his whole thing was like, I'm going to work when I have to. And so he was a tutor. He worked at his family's like pencil factory, making pencils. He did some handiwork. But then he would do all that to support the writing, the mission. So he didn't ask the mission to support him. He made a commitment to support the making of the thing he was there to do. And it's so funny. I saw him being quoted on these things about success. And I'm like, well, you're not using the measure that he was using.
Nope.
Which was, do you get to do the thing? Do you do the thing that you believe in? And are you consistent in that? And so to me, that's the way out. The way out is definitely the Henry David Thoreau of you just do it. You don't know the outcome. I know so many different stories about things that were just before their time, and then they had an influence, and you never know. If you are a maker, you never know the outcome of the making.
No, but you have to make it because you know that is who you really are and what is yours
100%
to put out into the world. And if you don't, you fail yourself.
Yeah.
You can look at it as I failed the world, but you also fail yourself. But that's a big one. I appreciate hearing that there are people that are very outcome-based, and so they're testing everything by the results.
I used to. It just didn't work because I'm always disappointed in the result, even when it does really well. It'll never be at the expectation or the place I hoped. Nothing.
Yeah.
And being deeply okay with that. But it also, all right. So it also makes me ask a different question, which is what kinds of things did I do for the outcome? And what kinds of things did I do because I valued even being in the process? That has been a major marker of the journey. Like I know every, podcast episode we do, it is not like the most listened to one. And I can tell you which are the most listened to ones. Like we have it on a spreadsheet. So should we go back to those things? No, because we're trying to stay on a journey. We're trying to do something that we think is valuable and meaningful. And I enjoy the process of that.
Yeah.
More than valuing a very specific outcome.
Yeah. So another one is other people have done it and done it better. So why contribute?
I love the Pete Holmes response on this when he was talking to his musician buddy, Michael Gungor, about it. He said that kind of thing. Well, it's been done by someone else, or I did something like that before. And he's like, do it again, Gungy. Do it again. Say it again. Say it in your way. Say it where you are now, not where you were 5 years ago. Like, just say it again. And I actually see that in some of Pete Holmes' works, who's one of my favorite comedians. He's
great.
So funny, but he's also like deeply insightful in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah.
And like the fact that he can move through those things in so many ways, because he's just kind of like, I need to revisit this. Like, I need to talk about this again. I need to explore this further. I need to explore it as the person I am now, not the person I was 3 years ago or 6 months ago even. It is a perpetual unfolding. And sometimes I have to do it again, or I have to do it in my own voice just because I'm not done with it. Like personally, I'm not done with it.
Right.
And that matters to me. And it's really interesting as a writer. I know a lot of other writers do this, but I remember reading a John O'Donohue poem one day, and there was one line that I was like, oh my God, why didn't he do so much more with that one line?
Yeah, because it was so good.
It was
right.
so good.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
I took that one line and then I wrote a whole thing based on the exploration of going deeper with that one line. And so we're always building on something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm guessing like so many ideas are that way. We want to expand on it. I think some people have criticized recently Disney, like doing the live action versions of all these old movies, but they're also updating the voice of it and putting a little bit of a modern morality around it, or some of these other questions. I mean, and sometimes it's really great. They take it deeper. Sometimes in the case of like Home Alone 4, it was really stupid, but not to go down that train.
Right.
But
that's an example of like, because the outcome of the previous, and I think that we see a lot of that with like the next, we're going to make a sequel to this one, and then we're going to make another one. And usually the second or third almost always are not as good as the first, or
at least not the third. It's really hard to sustain.
The third is the tough, for sure.
Really hard to sustain that.
Yeah. But I think that's driven by the outcome. Like, oh, well, that worked.
Right.
Rather than, I have something to say here. All right, here's another one.
Okay.
Some say this is going to cost a lot, or this is going to be a lot on. Do I have the resources? Do I have the capability to pull this off? And that's what holds them back. I don't always relate to that, but there is a part that does play inside me, so I'm trying to tune into that. But that is also the thing of like, you're thinking down the road a lot. Like, will I have the resources to do this? Will I have the capability to pull this off? And I think that also plays a role. Conversely, there are those who have a bit more confidence in their capability, but the thing is that they believe that if I achieve this, there'll be another bigger thing that they'll have to achieve. And so they're monitoring kind of like, how much resource do I have to really pull this off? So I think it goes back again to going too far into the outcome and too far into the future and too far into the forecasting, instead of do something now that isn't great. Don't worry about how great it is, but engage in the conversation, to engage in the moments. And I've coached some people around this. Like, I had one who wasn't sure of the certification course and if they could pull it off because this would be a lot on them. And I said, okay, let's take one and then decide after we do one. So this individual did one. It was like, okay, it wasn't awful, right? No, it wasn't awful at all. This is actually great. Okay, let's set up another one without setting up. We're not doing the whole thing. We're just going to set up one more. And set up one more, and now it has become like an ongoing thing. Yeah. Because I think the awareness of like how much I have can sometimes can feel so minimal and feel like we aren't going to be able to do something. And so the capability piece of it, I think, can hinder some people from really doing the thing that they want to do.
Yeah, or the confidence piece. Like, that's a huge thing for so many people. It's just like, I'm not going to do it until I feel confident. Then you'll never do it.
Yeah.
Like, where does confidence
Or I'm
come
ready.
from?
Like, I'm not ready.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like, what does ready look like? Exactly.
Yeah. Talk to 100 different really successful business people who started their own business, really successful entrepreneurs. Ask them how many of them were ready when they started. You're going to get a 0.
Oh, yeah.
I just saw this quote of this, like, your really successful friends will never make fun of you for trying to start a business. They're going to be like, right. Absolutely, go for it. You can do it. You'll figure it out. Like, that's the attitude they come with. But people who are very stuck in like, no, I would never do that, they're going to be the ones who are like, what are you doing? Like, that's crazy. You're going to risk how much of your savings? You're going to like put your current job at risk? Like, are you crazy? Well, but I see the potential. I see like the freedom I could have. I can see all this different stuff. Think about the kind of person who's going to give you the kind of feedback. And you're going to find, again, the question I asked last time, is it true that it's a waste of time? No one knows. Is that helpful? No, it's not helpful. What's helpful? Do you need to try it? Yeah. Are you going to be left with a what if the rest of your life if you don't? That's not a good way to live.
Yeah, right.
Well, they've interviewed old people, like people who are in their late 80s, 90s, and they talk to them about their regrets. And there was this consistent pattern that they didn't regret things that they did.
Yeah.
Things that they did, they saw as learnings. the primary regrets around things they didn't do.
Yeah.
They didn't risk it. They didn't try it. They didn't ask that person out. They didn't try to start that business. This is so morbid, but this is something that comes to my mind anytime I walk through a graveyard. I'm like, how many great novels are buried in here? How many great songs are buried in here? How many great paintings are buried in here that the world will never see?
Yeah.
Because they were like, I'm not ready. I don't know if I have what it takes.
Yeah.
People around me are telling me I shouldn't. So the light that you had to carry, it's literally in the ground there with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Sadly. Yeah.
I saw it actually it started for me a day I was actually walking through a real cemetery, and there was a quote on one of them, and I'm not going to get it exactly right, but it's like, I was once where you were, and soon you will be where I am.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, how are you going to live in the meantime?
Mm-hmm.
It was like on the stone. And I was like, I was once where you were. It's like standing on the outside of this, soon you will be where I am. So what are you going to do in the meantime? Like, this is why I love that. And so many people have loved that Mary Oliver quote, what will you do with your one wild and precious life?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That is the question.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the other one is people think, will I be liked, or will people dislike what I'm doing? So it's easier for me to do what other people want me to do, or do what other people do, than it is for me to pay attention to what it is that I want to do, because that's even harder to figure that out. So there are people that are very much tuning in to how others perceive them. So what about those people? Any thoughts around, like, what do you do when you're very oriented towards pleasing people, having people's affirmation of you and approval of you, admiration and all that?
Yeah. I don't know, because I'm on the opposite side of that.
You're on the opposite end of that. Yeah. I mean, I think for folks like that, it's like, you're not going to change your disposition. It's actually really important to understand that there's always a low side to your high side. There's always a high side to your low side. So you can't get rid of it. You can't get rid of that tuning in to how other people perceive you. But what you also want to include is how you perceive yourself. And so you're adding that. You're just asking yourself, what would I be proud of if I did this? And what do I value besides what other people value about me and how I think I'm valuable to other people? Bringing that other piece into it. What's your own estimation of you? What do you value?
I think this is really hard. And this is why we end up with American Idol syndrome, which is you've perceived something else as so valuable that you think you should be that. And that should be your dream. Which is why I love that it was a place that people were told the truth. Kind of like, you're terrible at this.
Yeah.
This is not your light to shine.
Right.
And I think that is something that we try to say in the book, the whole, like, you'll never be successful by trying to be like someone else or something else you perceive as valuable. I think it takes a lot of work to figure out what you actually think is valuable and not end up with American Idol syndrome, where they're like, this is not you. And I think so many times people have to chase the wrong thing, the thing they think is their dream. Yeah. And I don't want to say your dream is your light. Those are actually very, very different things. I honestly believe, kind of more like the Dirty Jobs guy, where I think it was him who said something along the lines of, like, don't chase your passion, take your passion into anything you do. And somebody else was asking a question about it. They were like asking these like successful people, if you love what you do, and they're saying yes. He's like, well, do they love what they do because they're successful at it? Like, is that the reason that they actually love it? Which is, very much the case for a lot of people. So I think this is one of those things where it is actually really difficult to get to, what is your real light to shine? What are you actually here to bring? What are you good at?
Well, and I think this is tough because not everybody's good at what it is, their own unique light. Yeah. I think it's because we oftentimes avoid it. And so it's kind of frozen in time.
We avoid our light?
We avoid our light, yeah.
Why?
Because it's extremely exposing. If you live from a place of what you really, truly love to put out into the world, it'll expose you. You will feel very vulnerable.
That's true.
Ask any musician and anybody who's authentically putting their beauty out into the world. And I'm not talking about just music and arts. I'm talking about anything you put out into the world. Yeah. For me, it was It was coaching.
Okay.
And it felt very exposing to be authentically present to people in the space of coaching. And doing it was terrifying when I first began.
Oh, for sure.
And it continued for a long time. Now it's no longer that. I've continued to lean into the love over the fear. And that has helped me to keep pushing forward. But anything you do that is yours to do, authentically your light, you will feel very exposed. And I think that's the reason why we avoid it. And we didn't when we were children. We just lived it out naturally. This is why I think returning to your dominant instinct, your first two, the first and second instinct, plus your type, starts to give you an indication of what your light is. Not what your job is, the career, your light.
Super important distinction.
So, absolutely. So if your light is, I am great at making other people feel seen. It's one of the things that I love doing. And I don't know if I'm actually good at it, but I think I can be really great at it. And I have at times. So, okay. Doesn't matter what you do almost at that point. That does. Of course, you want to line up your instincts with your, in a way that you live from it more so than perhaps from another instinct. But when you live from your light, you bring that. You bring that. Just like, the quote you had, that you bring your passion into the thing you're doing. You bring your light into the work you're doing.
100%.
Because
I honestly think you could put me in almost any world and I'm going to bring my passion to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do think that. I think there's something about, there's going to be reoccurring themes. I'm going to be focused on the people side of it. And I have that teamer, instinct. I'm going to want people to work well together and see possibility and connect and, maximize everyone's gifts. Like the things we're advocating for and we talk about here on this podcast, I'm pretty sure I'd be doing in any environment that I was in.
Yeah.
It's just, that's going to be the passion that you take into the environment. But it's not, like the environment does not determine the satisfaction. It's the person that I'm bringing to the environment. And I think that is a distinction that's important to me. To go back to what you were saying about you and coaching, I wonder if this is actually how it always feels, because I've had the same experience. And I've told people, like, my first year of coaching, I'd be almost like in a panic the first 10 minutes. Am I going to have anything to offer this person? Are they going to think I wasn't worth the money? How am I going to make it to the end of the hour? I'd like be in my head. What is the reoccurring theme there? It's the I, me focus.
Yeah.
And in shifting to just asking them questions, getting deeply curious about them, wanting them to feel seen, wanting to really value who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would get to the end of this call and I'd be like, I'm better at this than I've been at anything I've ever done. But I would go through that entire cycle every single time for months.
Yeah.
And it still rears its head. It came up again last week and I was like very much felt like out of my element. And at the end I was like, boom.
Yeah. Well, it's starting anything that people do, whether it's starting a business, if they feel like that's what their passion is, creating a business that is aligned with something that they really, truly love. It's going to feel all kinds of terrifying. I mean, it is, none of us are comfortable with our light. It's a burden and a joy.
Yeah.
It is both. It's a burden and a joy. It's like, oh my gosh, I must shine this light. And oh man, I'm terrified of shining this light. And I'm not even sure I like my light. And it's all of this. And I think that's why it's so much more difficult to shine our light than it is to just ignore it, live into someone else's light, be part of someone else's agenda. But yeah, it is a challenge. But that is something that I think is important for our benefit, for our joy, for our own sense of self-respect and feeling like there's meaning and finding meaning and living into meaning and seeing other people positively impacted by us. Of course, there has to be a dialogue because it isn't just about, well, this is my light to shine and I'm going to shine it whether people like it or not. Well, you have to have a little bit of defiance because you have to tune into what it is that is yours to put out into the world. But then you also have to see where the connection to the people's needs out there in the world and that intersection, that's the work. And when you discover that intersection and you can work with that while staying authentic to who you are, but also shaping it in a way that meets the needs of people around you, that is a wonderful place to be. So encourage everybody to consider, your type, your instincts. That's a good place to begin. So what does my type really love? What do my instincts bring? Like I've had certain types, like type 3. This has happened before where it's like, I don't know what my thing is. I can, I can succeed at a lot of things, but I don't know what, okay, let's go back to your type. Let's go back to you're frustrated by obstacles, right? Yes. And when you remove an obstacle and you successfully move towards your goal and you achieve it, and you've gone through the obstacles, you've moved through them, how do you feel? It's like, well, that does feel really good. Okay, so let's name a few things. You like removing obstacles. You can create a plan out of thin air. Where does the plan come from? I've had threes literally stop. Like, I've asked them questions, then I ask them, where does the plan come from? And they're like, right. You don't know where it comes from. It just materializes. So that's an aspect of your gift, maybe a part of your light, as long as it's lived for something you really, truly value. What is the thing that you love? What is your why? Ask yourself, why am I doing this? What's your why? And then when you're able to articulate that, you start to feel that internal sense of, yeah, that feels right to me. That feels right to me. But there's a risk when you start living more in that authentic space. So I illustrated through the 3. I could do that through all the types, but just to point out that it is some who actually can't see anything internally because they're so outwardly focused. If they take time and you begin with your type and you begin with your 2 dominant instincts, you start to be able to see, oh, yeah, I did like this. And yeah, I did want to do this in the world. And that helps to move you towards, what is yours to put out into the world, your contribution.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that, like we said at the beginning, you do have a unique one. But here's a little personal belief around how this works is I think those who are living farthest from their light, who are least connected to what they have to offer, are those who complain the most about the darkness. They're complaining about what shouldn't be. And those who are most shining their light, they're just trying to make the world as they think it should. So there's a quality of energy there, like we talked about the last time.
Difference between players and spectators.
Yes.
The
Non-player
spectators
characters
know everything and can tell you everything and have all sorts of confidence about whatever it is that they're saying. And the players on the field are like, I don't have that level of confidence. Right. I'm just faking my confidence because I'm really, working myself to it. But that is a big difference, what you just named. Spectators and players, those who are on the field.
And the way I spot it is just like, how much does that person complain about the way the world should be?
Yeah.
That's probably the kind of person I'm going to spend the least amount of time with, honestly. Because the kind of person I want to be around is the one who's saying, well, let's try this. We could do this. Maybe let's go this direction. There's a hope, there's an effort, there's an intention of let's try to turn on a light. Mm-hmm. Because as long as we're trying, I feel like we're doing good work. A friend of mine recently said this, and he's an interesting character. He does jits with me, who he got laughed off of Shark Tank.
Oh.
And then 2 years ago sold his business for $50 million.
Nice.
And he said something interesting. He says, I don't have to hit my target, but I just need one to aim at. And I thought that was really interesting. He's like, I just have to be trying to turn on a light. It's not that I know that I'm going to hit it every time. I'm not going to get it right every time. But I'm going to always be trying. Mm-hmm. And those are people that are worth surrounding yourself with.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening. You can take the new Hunters, Farmers, and Teamers assessment on our website, theartofgrowth.org. That is our new instincts test. And you can order the Hunters, Farmers, and Teamers book on Amazon now. The link is in the show notes. Based on our interactions, we are also adding content to our Instagram about the topic, which is just Art of Growth. And the best way to support the show is to leave us a review wherever you listen and share this episode with someone else. We're hugely grateful for you doing this work with us. Grace and growth, my friends.